Hello and welcome everybody to round number 13, the last race of the regular season here for Output Racing League Season 3 of 2019, live from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. I say live, but it's not really that live. The drivers know what I'm talking about. We got some new camera angles here. This is the scenic view of the Atlanta Motor Speedway as we are in the middle of practice here. Only 13 minutes left in practice. The replay that I got for this was started very late indeed. But that's okay. We will strive through and get this done right. As we are now going to start joining these guys down on the track. We can see Chris Champeau there. Actually, no, that's Corey Williamson and Jaron Sanchez. Corey getting up into the wall on the outside of Jaron. Been a fairly intense practice session so far. A 29.998 set by Thomas Harmon is the top time as it stands right now. Jaron Sanchez on screen in 4th position, which would make sense since he is the 4 car. Just in front of Jaron there is the 78 of Brian Pizzicami. A little bit of touchy-feely going on there, but these guys are managing it just all right. As we see a big crash here on the back straight that involves the 5 of Mark Pentecoff. That looked like it hurt for sure and certain. As we're going to go back onto the track now. Looks like we're just going to be focused on Mark. We do see that Thomas Harmon is indeed on the track, and he's gone for a spin. Let's see what's happened to Thomas here. He's just gotten loose and has looped it coming off a turn 2. That looks like that could be a bit of a massive shunt into the rear end as well. That looks like it could be one of the danger zones here tonight for these cars going around the track. That exit of turn 2 looking very slippery indeed. As we go back on track, or not. Thing really doesn't know who it wants to aim on. So let's go and have a look at the 17 of Christian Budd, our 3-in-a-row winner. Now there's many questions that have been raised. Can he go 4 in a row? And will this race go green the whole way as well? We've had 3 races in a row of Christian Budd being absolutely dominating, and 3 races in a row of green flag the entire time. Now, I'm not sure that that's just a coincidence, because the way that Christian has been handling himself here has been absolutely awesome. Currently Christian in 2nd with a 30.003 time. As we're going to go back to seeing what iRacing wants to focus on. See the 24 of Frank Isaacson with Corey Williamson right behind him. Frank fighting for a chance to get into the chase for the championship. Corey Williamson on screen there. Just hoping for a decent result, honestly. As we see the 2 of Chris Champeau on screen now. Currently in 3rd with a 30.029, which is great for Chris at the moment. Chris is another one desperate for some good results. Haven't been having the best of runs lately. We've got a lot of things going on. We got a new guy in on the race here, the 40 car of Tater Bowman. Not a name that I have actually seen before. Out here for practice, currently in P7 with a 30.165. But let's go and ride on board with our current dominator of the series, the 17 car of Christian Budd. We're going to wait for the next lap around to jump into his car. We're going to go gyro cam on him. He makes his way through turns 3 and 4. Atlanta, a very wide track, can get very slick if the temperatures get hot. We'll jump into the car now to have a look around. Hear that little bit of throttle control going on through the corner. He's not committing to the throttle, just feathering it every now and then, just to make sure he's going to stay off the wall, getting very close to the safer barrier there going into turn 3. And a little bit more confidence there on the throttle going through turn 4. Comes across the line. That is how you do a lap of Atlanta in the B cars. These guys are on the absolute edge of adhesion the entire time here at Atlanta. A very slick surface makes it very difficult to drive. It's a real driver's track. And hopefully we never see an ounce of traction compound on it, because I wouldn't want to have Atlanta any other way. As now we are going to go back to the outside view. Christian still P2 in the standings. His last lap, the one that we were on board with, was actually very slow. That last lap that we were on board with him was a 40.109. So he was definitely taking it very easy there. As we're going to go back to focusing on crashes, we can see Corey Williamson going slow. Darren Sanchez now making a move on the inside of Frank Isaacson. 7.5 minutes left in practice. Darren gets the move made really easily there, right up on the inside of Frank. As I said, Frank is one who is on the bubble to get into the championship. He can score himself just a half decent result and have some of the other drivers drop out, then he should be a shoo-in to make it into the top 12 and be in for a chance of getting the championship. Darren Sanchez should be well and truly locked into the chase. Thomas Harmon is also locked in. Mark Pentecoff, I think he might be one of the bubble drivers as well, as he goes around the outside of Matt Burgess, who is definitely a safe driver coming into this race. So we've got quite a few storylines here that are yet to play out, and at the end of the race we will go and see where everyone is at as far as getting into the championship is concerned. As we see now, the forward Darren Sanchez having some trouble on the back straight there, possibly getting loose off a turn 2 like we have seen so far. The 21 of Brian Chambliss on screen. Pretty sure Brian Chambliss is another one of those safe drivers, having some fairly solid results in the past few weeks. Oh, but he's gotten very loose there coming up at turn 4. He didn't hit the wall, but that little bit of looseness there coming off at turn 2 is definitely going to be quite a bit of a concern for these drivers. I think we might not end up getting a full green flag race. And there's Frank going for a drift as well, coming off turn 2. He actually got loose very early there. Let's go back, have a look at what happened with Frank here. Frank actually started getting loose in turn 1. And that's not something that you'd see very often. So yeah, that's the tale of Frank's woes here in practice. Very weird indeed. As now we're going to go back to just focusing on anyone and everyone we will have qualifying coming up here in just a few moments. 4 minutes left in practice. You see the 5 of Mark Pentecoff back on screen. And there's the 2 of Chris Champeau trying to do his best Travis Pastrana impersonation, going through the grass. No launch off of the Legends Oval though. Brian Chambliss just on track behind Thomas Harmon. These guys are just chilling out right now, just working out maybe a little bit of strategy here for the qualifying session. Brian actually on 3-lap old tyres now. See a lot of people starting to stream out of the pits. Thomas Harmon getting a little bit balked by the traffic. Frank definitely made that a very difficult situation for Thomas. As Brian Chambliss actually clears this little pack. Oh, the 13 car of Travis Massier getting loose off of turn 4. Almost turned it into Thomas. Let's go back and have a look at that real quickly. See him just sliding. Couldn't quite use the wall there to help straighten him up. He turns it right to stay off of Thomas. But in doing so, he's overcorrected it. And there is the tap into the wall. That was a solid hit. He might actually have to go and get himself checked out after that one. Because, ouch. Now we're going to join the action back on the track with Chris Champeau. Only 3.5 minutes left here in practice. Chris is still currently P3 with his 30.029. There's like a lot of the times have dropped off, so the track temp might have gone up quite a fair bit here. Chris is also working lap 3 of this run. To see Thomas Harmon coming back out. Actually, no, it's Travis Massier coming back out onto the track. My apologies. Oh, and the 21 of Brian Chambliss getting loose going through the tri-oval. Smashing into the pit wall there. Seen some of the crews scattering in fear of his impending arrival. As we now have the 13 of Travis Massier back on screen with the 2 of Chris Champeau just getting up into that wall in the middle of 3 and 4. Didn't affect him too much, just slowed him down a bit and gave him a little bit of a stripe along that right side of the car. That's not going to help out his chances here. But I think he might be trying to work in that high line a little bit. Frank Isaacson right down on the inside, even taking a little bit of the apron. Sliding all the way up to that 3rd lane, right in front of Chris. That was definitely a little bit of a sketchy situation. But on that note, we're going to go to a quick break here, guys. And when we come back, we will be setting the grid for this race here at Atlanta. Round number 13, the final round of the regular season for the Output Racing League. Stay tuned. We are now live back down here on the track. It's time for us to get ready to get going here. So let's start going through the grid to start this race here at Atlanta, the final round of the regular season. We've got the 17 of Christian Budd on the pole. On his outside is supposed to be the 86 of Gerald West, but it does not look like that's the way it's going to be. In fact, I think my software might be a little bit screwy here with me right now. So we've got Christian Budd with Matt Burgess on his outside. Got the 2 of Chris Champeau in third with the 4 of Jaron Sanchez starting out of 4th. And we're going to have the 21 of Brian Chambliss starting out of 5th. And out of P6 is going to be... Speed it up a little bit so I can see who it is, because yeah, apparently my software doesn't like this. So we're going to have the 86 of Gerald West on his outside. We're going to have the 13 of Travis Massia starting out of 6th place, with the 57 of Tommy Bordeaux out of P6. Alright, I've just decided that I'm not going to do the grid. Sorry guys. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with this, but it's just been a little bit screwy with me right now. This is why you don't trust replays. Because what I'm seeing is results when I shouldn't be seeing results. I'm seeing the results of the race instead of what I'm supposed to be seeing over on my software. But either way, we will endeavour to get through this. I'm going to try and restart my software here so we can get going properly. We've got the 17 and the 12, Christian Budd and Matt Burgess to kick us off with the green flag. And we are underway here for the Output Racing League final race of the regular season. Christian Budd with a excellent job. The 2 of Chris Champeau quickly filling that second position on the inside of the 12 of Matt Burgess. It looks like that did the trick. It looks like I've got all my stuff working properly now. Matt Burgess fighting back around the outside of Chris Champeau there. Jaron Sanchez looking for a gap to squeeze his way through either of these guys. We know that him and Matt Burgess have a little bit of history there. So hopefully they can keep it civil and not crash each other out this time. Matt Burgess taking that second position. Jaron Sanchez around the outside of Chris Champeau taking third. Chris jumping right up in front of Gerald West there to take the 4th position. But Gerald fighting up on the inside of Chris now. And he's going to take that 4th position away. And that's going to put Chris Champeau all the way back to P5. We're going to go back to the front of the pack now. It looks like Christian Budd opening up quite the lead right now, already to the tune of a second, which is incredible. As we see some movers and shakers back there in the pack. 3 wide with Thomas Harmon, Frank Isaacson and Tommy Bordeaux. In fact, Tommy looks like he's a little bit off the pace here. Falling right back to the back of the pack. That's not like Tommy at all. Let's just stick with Tommy here. He might have a little bit of damage, although his car does look fine. But he's just relegated himself to the very back of the pack here for some unknown reason. So we might have to keep an eye on this here, because it's definitely a very weird situation for Tommy. Back back up at the front. Christian Budd still holding on to a massive lead here over the 12 of Matt Burgess. But Jaron Sanchez still sitting there in third, just in front of Gerald West in fourth. Good to see Gerald back on track and right up towards the front. I haven't seen too much of him the past couple of weeks. But everyone wants to be part of the end of the regular season here. Going to go back to check in on Tommy Bordeaux here at the back of the pack. He's actually lost some space to Ryan Beach in front of him in the 18. In fact, Tommy's bringing it into the pits. Tommy's car looks completely fine, but hang on, he's pulling over before his pit boxes. That's it. Tommy has just exited the building. Exit stage left. They've packed up the pit box and everything. So that is very unexpected indeed. Tommy, one of our front runners. Hopefully, whatever's wrong, he can get that figured out and come back next week strong. But yeah, that's not very good news at all for one of our title contenders. As we join back in on the action now, we are currently focused on the 2 of Chris Champeau again. And he's going to have a little bit of a fight on his hands here with the 13 of Travis Massier just behind him. With Taylor Bowman and Thomas Harmon quickly following up as well. We know Thomas is a very ruthless driver. Let's go and jump in on his gyro cam here. Thomas looking for a way around Taylor. He's got a nice run here off of turn 2. Getting very close to Taylor. Thomas wanting to get an inside run somewhere here on the 40 car. And it looks like he's got it now. He's gone up the inside of Taylor. Taylor actually looks like he might have a little bit of right side damage there, maybe, possibly not. But either way, there's Thomas Harmon now up into the 8th position. As we're going to go back to the front of the pack, the Christian Budd has now opened up a 1.3 second gap over Matt Burgess in P2. There's the rest of the pack coming up behind him. Matt Burgess, a little bit of a cork in the bottle here. So he's got Jaron, Gerald, and Brian Chambliss right behind him, absolutely hounding his bumper. Gerald getting a little bit of impatience there. As you can see from the wagging of his tail coming off of turn 4, getting a little bit loose. And he's going to go up the inside of Jaron Sanchez. That's going to be for P3 if he can pull it off. Jaron still holding tough around the outside. But it looks like he concedes that 3rd position to Gerald. Now this is actually one of the better tracks for Jaron. So Jaron doing quite well for himself here at this stage. These guys are going to continue to battle it out for a little bit here. Let's open up the... Oh, and we got some drama. Frank has hit the wall at some point. Let's go back and see if we can have a look at what's happened. Oh, we didn't go back far enough. Let's slow it down here. Get tighter shot. You can see the 18 of Brian Beach battling it out here with Frank. Brian goes up the track. Oh, Frank's had a little bit of tap from that. He's just hit the wall with his right rear. He's come back down. No contact with Brian. Into the wall. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. There's the 5 of Mark Penticup as well, just sneaking through it. Oh, and a huge contact into that inside wall. 3 wheels in the air. Oh, that is gonna hurt. So that is not good at all for Frank Isaacson. No caution at the moment though, which is quite a bit of a surprise. Oh, caution's out now. Sorry, I just saw the caution lights. And to think I was just about to open up the radios so we could hear what the guys are thinking right now. So we see the pace car catch up to the front of the field. There's going to be time for pit stops here. And hopefully Frank will be able to continue on. He might, when he pulls in to get his repairs made, he might have to take a quick little trip to the medical center on the infield. Because that was quite the solid hit on the inside wall. The locking up brakes there for Christian Budd coming to his pit box. Still holding it pretty alright. We now see, I think that was Brian Beach coming back out onto the track. He didn't stop. Brian Beach rolled through the pits but didn't stop. I think he might have missed his pit box. Looks like Gerald West might have lost some positions through the pits here. Actually, he has. He's gone back from 3rd down to 5th. Possibly 7th, actually, having a look at this. We'll have to wait and see how things shake out when they come across the line. So your order is as stands right now. It's going to be Christian Budd, followed by Matt Burgess, Jaron Sanchez, Chris Champo, and then we're going to have Gerald West in 5th, Brian Chambliss P6, Travis Macias 7th, Taylor Bowman 8th, Thomas Harmon 9th, Mark Penticup in 11th, Dustin German 12th, Brian Pizzakemi in 13th with Corey Williamson 14th, and Brian Beach down in 15th after missing his pit box on the first time of asking. So we should be on 1 to green here because we didn't have anyone a lap down when that caution came out. Be a very short caution indeed. The lights are out on the pace car. We're going to go back to 2x2 formation. See if we can't get this thing going again. Brian Chambliss has actually made another stop here. Or whether he was doing that for fuel or tyres. He's just coming out of the pits now. Maybe he just wanted to be at the back of the pack. Alright, so we're getting ready to go. Christian Bud, Matt Burgess, Jaron Sanchez, Chris Champeau, and Gerald West is your top 5. Travis Massier and Taylor Bowman just sitting there looming in 6th and 7th positions, with Thomas Harmon in 8th. And Christian Bud is off and racing. This is where things are going to start to get a little bit interesting here, because we're going to open up the radio for this restart to see if we can hear what's going on for these drivers. We'll go back and have a look at this battle going on behind Jaron Sanchez. Chris Champeau up there dropping down positions again. Gerald West making his way back up through the field after a terrible pit stop, dropping from 3rd to 5th. It looks like Gerald has taken over 3rd again. Thomas Harmon right there battling Jaron Sanchez for 4th now as well. Thomas up on the inside, gets the position made. Now Jaron is going to be down in the 5th position with a little bit of work to do to get back up to the very front of this pack. But at the moment it seems that the status quo at the front of the pack is going to be Christian Bud running away with things as per normal. But we do have the 86 and the 12. Gerald West and Matt Burgess battling it out here for 2nd now. Gerald on the inside with the nice run. Matt trying to capture the momentum of the top side. Matt holding on for the moment, but he's just lost it. He's down into 3rd now. And he's going to have to deal with Thomas Harmon up on his inside. Thomas looking menacing in that pink and black car. Working the inside of Matt Burgess. And he's got the position as they come across the line, and he's just got him cleared going into turn 1. Nicely done there by Thomas Harmon. It took him 3/4 of a lap to get that move made. As we can see, a lot of movement back in the pack here a little bit. The 2 of Chris Champeau falling backwards, and the 13 of Travis Massier trying to work the low side of Brian Beach in the 18. But Travis has backed off, thought better of it. We're going to go to a slightly wider view of things here. There's a 78 of Brian Pizzakemi here at the back of the pack, battling with Mark Pentecoff in the 5 car. Pizzakemi is one of those where did he come from drivers. Likes to start at the back of the pack and work his way through to be up towards the front for the end of the race. Looks like for the moment he's holding off Mark Pentecoff, but Mark looking very menacing there on his bumper. He's going to go and jump back up with the 18 car of Brian Beach, up on the inside of Chris Champeau, and we've got Brian Chambliss in the 21 trying to work the inside of Travis Massier as well. Like Brian Beach has gotten the move done, but Brian Chambliss was unable to get the move done. In fact, Travis Massier now going to be on the inside of Chambliss. Chambliss trying to use the momentum of the outside line to his advantage. Not quite going to get it done there. Brian Beach is going to start marching towards the 40 car of Taylor Bowman. Brian Chambliss running very low on the track there. I think he might have gotten loose coming off of turn 2, sorry. Mark Pentecoff going around his outside. Let's go back to the front of the pack. where Christian Budd has a fairly decent lead. Don't let the timing monitor there fool you. It's definitely not 22 seconds gap. It's only to the tune of about maybe a second and a half to 2 seconds. Although it seems like it's half working itself out. It said 9/10 of a second there, which I would tend to believe, over Gerald West in the 86 car. In fact, it is out to 2 seconds. Maybe. I don't know, my software's been a little bit weird. Thomas Harmon's still right there in the 3rd position. And the age-old rivalry of Matt Burgess versus Jaron Sanchez still well and truly alive here, with both drivers still fighting over the 4th position. Matt still currently holding on to it. Jaron trying everything he can to get it away from Matt. But Jaron's got to be careful because just behind him is the 99 of Dustin German. Dustin is one of those fast drivers who just gets a little bit unlucky. So we'll have to wait and see whether Dustin has anything for Jaron and whether Jaron has anything for Matt. At the moment, things seem to be a little bit calmed down here. We're going to go and focus on crashes to see where iRacing wants us to look at. Be the 2 of Chris Champeau. Now we're back up to this battle between Jaron and Matt and Dustin German. Matt running a slightly higher line than Jaron that time, going through turn 4. Dustin is trying to run in. Oh, we got the 40 of Tater. No, very slow here. He's actually just been overtaken by Brian Beach and now Chris Champeau. I'm not sure, but I think Tater might have had a fairly severe contact with the wall on the right side, possibly coming out of turn 4. Unfortunately, we don't have a replay available, and Tater's coming into the pits very quickly. That's going to be a penalty for sure. I don't think he's going to care too much because of the damage. But that looks like it's going to be Tater out of this race for the moment at least. We go back to the on-track action now. Between the 2 and the 18, it's Chris Champeau and Brian Beach. Chris trying to find a way to get around the 18 of Brian here. Unfortunately, it looks like he got a terrible run coming off of turn 4. Brian pulled away from him, and Chris falling into the clutches of Brian Pizzicami there, who has worked his way up into the 9th position. It looks like we might have also lost Brian Chambliss from racing action. Not sure what's happened to Brian, but he is also in the pits. And the word that I'm hearing from the pit lane is that Tater Bowman is out of the race as well. He's gotten out of his car in disgust, and he's thrown a sack of potatoes at it. Now we see Brian Pizzicami trying to work over the bumper of Chris Champeau. And it looks like he has got the inside run here on Chris, going through turns 3 and 4. Chris giving him all the room in the world to get the move made, and that is now Brian Pizzicami up into the 8th position. Brian just slowly and meticulously picking everyone off as he's going through the pack. Be interesting to see how he goes about getting around the 18 of Brian Beach. Brian just holding on ever so slightly here to that 7th position. But it's all going to be for naught as the 78 now goes around the inside of him as the 24 of Frank Isaacson coming back out onto the track. And we can actually heard there that Brian Beach coming to the pits. Yeah, we see the stricken car, the 24 Frank Isaacson coming back out onto the track. That's good news for Frank, because that's going to help him to maybe try and make some position back and put himself in a good points paying position.
I thought you were going to hold on to it, Gerald.
So he can make it into the chase. And we actually have caution out on the track.
I almost had it.
We're going to turn the radio back off here and see if we can see what's happened. I think that we might have had something going on. These guys at the back, maybe? I don't know. Let's go back and see if we can have a look at it here. Get a 5 of Mark Pentecoff. Oh, he's tapped the wall there in turn 1. Anything else happened to him? It doesn't look like it. Maybe if we fast forward a little bit here. Oh, there we go. It took a little bit, but we got to it. The 5 of Mark Pentecoff getting loose off of turn 4. Managing to keep it off the front straight wall. And for a trip through the grass. Oh, then when he tries to accelerate again after getting all that grass on his tyres, he's just slipped up very slightly. Still managing to keep it off the wall though. That's quite the stout effort, but trying to accelerate still, and it's just not working out for him. Now we're going to try and get back to where we were at, which was the 18 coming into the pits, which is actually on this lap as well. So we're not actually sure on what's brought out the caution. See the flag waver there in the background waving it. But either way, that is going to be the second caution here for us. So while we are going to be under caution here, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we should be getting ready to go back to green flag racing. So make sure you stay tuned. Alright, we are back on track now. We can see the drivers making their way back onto the track. They've just come out from the pit stops, and it looks like at the moment everything is fairly as it was as they went to the pits. Christian Budd coming out in first with Thomas Harmon second. Darren Sanchez has made a position and is up into third, with Matt Burgess dropping down to fourth. And fifth is actually going to be Travis Massier. So Gerald West has actually dropped down a lot. He's down in ninth. So maybe the caution was out for Gerald there. Because he was one of the voices that we heard pipe up when the caution did fly. Now we're just waiting for everyone to get back into formation. But Brian Beach is hoping for a wave around here. He was in the pit lane when the caution came out. So he was perfectly positioned to get the wave around. Looks like Brian Pizzakemi is making his way back down to the pits. After being up in 6th place there, he wants to go back to the back. But if my calculations are correct, and they are, we are on 1 to go. So we will be seeing the green flag coming out again very shortly. We're working our way through turn 3 now, getting ready to go green. The top 5 is Christian Budd, Thomas Harmon, Darren Sanchez, Matt Burgess, and Travis Massier. We're going to have Gerald West starting from P6 with Dustin German and Mark Pentecoff just behind them in 7th and 8th. Pace car is in. And we are off and racing again. Another excellent jump there for Christian Budd, holding on to the lead by a margin over Thomas Harmon. Let's go back and have a look at this battle for 3rd and 4th. Battle that's been raging the entire race so far. Matt Burgess and Darren Sanchez. Two drivers that do have a history of hitting each other on track. And just behind them we have a battle as well between the 99 of Dustin German and the 13 of Travis Massier. Dustin coming out on top there. And he's actually going to try and start working his way up to the back of his teammate and Gerald West. It looks like the 86 there, Gerald West, right on the tail of Matt Burgess as well, trying to see if he can affect a move. Looking pretty strong here. Not as strong as his teammate though, but still pretty strong nonetheless. These SSR guys are looking fairly menacing here. Two of them up in the top 6. Just have to wait and see how things play out. It looks like Dustin German losing a little bit of momentum there on the entry of turn 3. Gonna have to start dealing with Travis Massier trying to fight back at him. Travis has a very nice entry into the corners. That's where he's making up a bit of his time. But Travis trying his hardest to get around him, but not going to get it done. And we've got a battle going on behind these guys as well. Involves the two of Chris Champeau. He's got Mark Pentecuff and the 21 of Brian Chambliss behind him. There's a 78 of Brian Pizzicemi trying to buy his way into this battle as well. Looks like that's where the battle is going to be. Brian Chambliss actually 10 laps down here. I'm hearing from the pits that he decided to pull over so he could eat some ice cream with his crew. I'm not sure whether they're playing a joke on me or whether they actually have Tom Cruise in the pits playing his part of Cole Trickle. Oh wait, I'm hearing another report. It's actually pizza that he's eating, not ice cream. So his crew ordered the pizza, and he's actually eating pizza inside the car right now. So Brian is 10 laps down, and he's not going to be a factor in this race. But he is there nonetheless, causing a little bit of a spoiler kind of situation here. Racing hard and getting around some people. And it looks like we've also got a change of position. Gerald West making his way up into P3 right now, getting around Matt Burgess and Jaron Sanchez as we see his teammate Dustin German getting into the wall there, coming off of turn 2. Allowed Travis Massio to get that run on his inside and get around him. Dustin German now looking very menacing on the tail. 13 of Travis Massio. But he started to drop off the pace just a little bit to Travis's rear. Chris Champeau now starting to look very threatening towards Dustin. The only question that I actually have for Brian Chambliss right now is there pineapple on that pizza? I'm only saying that because I can see Brian Chambliss just sitting there behind Brian Pizzicemi there, who is in 9th position, as Chris Champeau gets the run on the inside of Dustin German there to take the 7th position away from him. Chris Champeau looking very nice right now. I wouldn't say impressive because he's not right up towards the front of the field, but he's handling this little bit of the race so far quite nicely. So we're going to go back up and check in with our leaders. Thomas is right on the tail pretty much of Christian Budd. This is the closest anyone has been to Christian since he has come into the racing league. There's still quite a bit of a gap there between Christian and Thomas. It would just be a matter of waiting and seeing whether Thomas can gain the advantage and maybe try and overtake Christian. As I said, that's just going to be something that we're going to have to wait and see. We've still got just under 50 laps left to go. We've got 48 laps left as they came across the start-finish line there. These guys are racing very hard to try and upstage the 17 of Christian Budd, which is proving to be more difficult than anything. And it looks like we might have lost Brian Beach again. We see Corey Williamson blowing up his engine. Oh, that is such a shame for Corey Williamson. Very likable guy, and his engine is gone. Looks like we might have also lost Dustin German here as well. Yep, Dustin is indeed out of the race. Corey Williamson is still under power a little bit, but his engine is toast. That is very unfortunate for Corey indeed. But yeah, we have definitely lost Dustin German. Dustin is gone. He has retired. Not sure what's happened to him. Or to Brian Beach, who is also in the pits now a couple laps down. But at the moment, Corey Williamson can be a little bit happy because he's still in the top 10. I'm not sure whether he'll hold on to that with Brian Chambliss being back out on track. But at the moment, Corey Williamson is in the top 10. Not in points, just in the track. As we're going to go back to focusing on our leader for a little bit here, Christian Budd. He has a 0.8 of a second gap over Thomas Harmon, who is fighting it out hard here with Gerald West. These guys have very similar team names here. For Thomas, it's S2R, and for Gerald, it's SSR. So sometimes can be a little bit confusing. Either way, both these cars look amazing. I don't think I've mentioned enough how good some of these cars are looking ever since we swapped to the new B cars. Thomas with Avril Lavigne on his hood. Gerald with that racing stripe going down the left side of the car. Oh, Thomas got a little bit loose there coming off of turn 2. This could be Gerald's chance to maybe affect a move on him, as they are both just very slowly slipping away from Christian Budd to the tune of just 1.1 seconds now. Don't worry about what the ticker says the gaps are, because the gaps down there are completely wrong. It's only to the tune of, well, it's 2.2 seconds now apparently. Something is definitely going wrong with my timing software here. Oh, as I saw someone down on the inside of the track, I'm not sure who that was. I think that might have been, no, it wasn't the 13, was it the 78? No. I definitely saw someone down on the inside of the track. Was it maybe Chris Champeau? Possible. The right side of Chris's car looks like he might have had a little bit of contact with the wall. And he has lost a position to Brian Pizzicami. As I just saw a move was starting to happen towards the front as I clicked the right button. Now finally the 38 of Thomas Harmon, unable to defend himself against Gerald West, who has now put himself up into the second position. Thomas trying to fight back on the outside, could not keep his nose up there. Gerald gets the clear call and comes across Thomas. These guys are going to be fighting out for this second position pretty hard here. Both of them looking to be in a good position for the run for the championship. So it's all going to be about which one of them can get the better advantage. See the 12 of Matt Burgess there. Looking like he was going a little bit slowly coming off of turn 2. I think I'm going to reopen the radio waves now, see what we can hear. Be the 78 and the 13 battling out here. That is Brian Pizzicami trying to effect a move on Travis Massia. Dives down to the inside in turn 1. Gets the run going through turn 2. Can he cover? Can he cut across the nose and take the advantage? Not quite yet. Going to go side by side into turn 3. And it looks like Brian Pizzicami now takes that position over Travis Massia. That's going to be Brian up into P6 in this race, with Travis Massia down into 7th. Nice little move there. It was just effective and calculated, and he pulled it off perfectly. Now let's see if Brian Pizzicami can maybe catch up to the 12 car of Matt Burgess in 5th. Because that could be quite interesting if he could manage that. Is Jaron Sanchez still sitting in 4th. This is one of the better races Jaron has had so far this season. As I was alluding to earlier, Atlanta is a really good track for Jaron. He has a lot of comfort racing around this track. And maybe later on we'll actually get to talk to him as the league owner heading into the playoffs, rather than talking to him as a driver. But if we can still talk to him as a driver, whether he gets the top 3 or not, that would be quite epic as well. As we're going to go back to have a quick little look at our leader, who has opened up a pretty big gap now over Gerald West and Thomas Harmon. See if we can actually going to go and jump on with Gerald West into his gyro cam so we can actually see the distance that's between them. Probably about a 3-second gap there between these two drivers. With Christian running the very low line. Maybe just hooking his left side tyres onto that white line to save his tyres a little bit. Let's actually go to his nose cam here. As we can see Christian starting to catch up to one of the lap traffic a little bit here. It's going to be the 24 Frank Isaacson. Frank, who's been in and out of the pits a lot, finally has a nose on his car again. Staying up high and allowing Christian Bud to get around him. Brian Chambliss has now made his way into the 10th position. Looks like he might be in for a pit stop, getting some repairs done. I think we've actually lost a couple other people here as well, whether they're going in for pit stops or not. We've got Gerald West in there. Got the 2 car of Chris Champeau going into the pits. So I think we are getting some green flag stops going on here. And we are on the 33 lap run. So if you pit now, you can make it to the end with 31 to go. So this should be everyone's final pit stop coming up. For the run to the line, we can hear the revs going down. Christian Bud's coming into the pits. Will Thomas follow? Thomas stays out. See, Matt Burgess is still out. What happened to Jaron Sanchez? Jaron's in the pits. We're going to go back with the 38 of Thomas Harmon, who should be coming into the pits fairly shortly here. We're going to jump onto his helmet cam when he's coming down into the pits. But let's jump onto his helmet cam now. So one of the loudest camera angles we have. Here there, he's not interested in coming into the pits just yet. Gonna go back outside the car now. Thomas should be coming in for a pit stop here very shortly. Go check back in with his helmet cam, see if we can hear anything different this time. And no, he's going to be staying out again. Now we're going to go to the Speedway Memes blimp. We watch Thomas coming through turns 1 and 2. Just sitting up there off the back straight just after the exit of turn 2. In fact, it's about midway through the back straight now. Thomas still refusing to come into the pits. As we heard there, we could hear someone else coming into the pits. I'm pretty sure that was the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi. I think Matt Burgess is also still on track as well. Let's go back onto Thomas's cockpit cam. Is he going to come into the pits this time? He is. Heard the revs drop as the 17 of Christian Budd goes around his outside. There's a nice entry into the pits there. On the edge of adhesion with how old these tyres are. They're 39 lap old tyres. Matt Burgess continues on, maintaining the lead. Let's see what Matt does. And Matt's coming in this time. Now that should effectively hand the lead of the race back to the 17 of Christian Budd. Thomas Harmon's only just started to come out of the pit lane now. Mark Pentecoff looks like he's back on the lead lap after being a lap down for a little bit there. But he is going to be at risk of going a lap down again. Christian Budd has retaken the lead. And at the moment, we've actually got Jaron Sanchez in the second position. Thomas Harmon all the way back in third, and I mean all the way back. He is buried right now. You see the 13 and the 86 of Gerald West and Travis Massey battling it out here. Got Frank Isaacson coming in for another pit stop. But yeah, Thomas Harmon, with how long he ran, Aaron Sanchez able to get the undercut on him, and by a long way. Fresh tyre advantage is massive here. But that would also mean that at the moment... Oh, we got another caution on the track. And this one has been caused by Chris Champeau. Let's go back and have a look at what's happened to Chris. Coming through turn 2. Blow it up here on exit because I think I know what's happened. He's just tapped the wall there on the exit of turn 2. Going for a big slide here. Oh, this looks like it's going to be painful. Oh, and it is. Another 3 wheels in the air situation. Sliding backwards on track. Matt Burgess lucky to have missed him. It looks like that is going to be it for Chris. He's rolling back down off the track a little bit here. I think that is going to be Chris's day done, as he would have incurred quite a bit of engine damage with that. So that is what has brought out the latest caution here for the Output Racing League. Final round from Atlanta. Or final round of the regular season at least. So we're going to stay with the live action here. We want to see what the pit stop strategy is going to be like from here, with everyone just making their green flag stops. Gonna be interesting to see what these drivers decide to do. Christian Budd still looking dominant here. But the question's going to be, are we going to see maybe 2 tyre pit stops? Especially considering how many people did just come down to the pits. I wouldn't put it past a Matt Burgess or a Thomas Harmon to only get 2 here. The pit stops are going to be a given with how terrible on tyres this track is. We are going to stay on with Christian Budd here as they're making their way down the pit lane. Looks like Matt Burgess has actually stayed out. So that is one for the books. Matt Burgess not coming into the pits at all. It looks like 4 tyre stops are the way to go here. Jaron Sanchez almost beating Christian Budd off the pit lane. That was very close. And Thomas Harmon coming out in fourth position there. So as it stands right now, going to be Matt Burgess, followed by Christian Budd, Jaron Sanchez, Thomas Harmon, and Gerald West as your top 5. Guess we just have to wait and see what Matt Burgess does here, whether he's going to come in for the pit stop or not. Doesn't look like he is, so he's playing the strategy game. Only had 1 or 2 laps on his tyres when the caution came out. So it will be interesting to see how he does with these guys that have absolutely 100% fresh tyres. Especially now that Christian Budd does not control the restart. So we've got Frank Isaacson actually in front of the field right now. He's going to get a wave around. He's going to be 23 laps down when we go back to green. Car still looking a little bit smashed like a smashed crab. Brian Chambliss actually looks like he might be able to capture himself a 9th position out of this race, because I'm 99% sure that is going to be the end of Chris Champeau for this one. We're on 1 to green. Frank's getting the wave around. So here's how it stands right now. We've got Matt Burgess, Christian Budd, Jaron Sanchez, Thomas Harmon, Gerald West, Travis Mastia, Brian Pizzakemi, Mark Penticuff as your top 8 and the only cars on the lead lap. Brian Chambliss is in 10th, 10 laps down. But in just 6 laps time, he will get 9th position off of Chris Champeau, sorry. And Frank Isaacson, 23 laps down, catching up to the back of the pack. It's not possible for him to gain any more positions, I don't believe. Unfortunately, it looks like Frank's going to finish in 11th here. I'm pretty sure that's still going to work out for him as far as the championship goes. I'm pretty sure he will have secured himself a top 12 berth with that finish. But either way, the pace car is going to head in. Matt Burgess with the control of the field on old tyres. And he gets the jump, and it looks like Jaron Sanchez in the 4 has actually spun his tyres on the restart. He's fallen back into the clutches of Gerald West in the 86. They're 3 wide going through turn 1 with Travis Massier on the outside. And Jaron has fallen like a stone. Back up to the front of the pack. Matt Burgess has just been swallowed up and spat out by Christian Budd and Thomas Harmon. And the battle is now on for the lead of the race. Who's going to get it? Looks like Christian Budd holding onto the advantage right now, but Thomas Harmon still sitting right there looking very menacing. Got 16 laps to go in this race. Make that 15 and a half as they come onto the back straight. It's still anyone's race to win and lose, especially for these two at the front. Gerald West sitting there in 3rd. But as things stand right now, it looks like Christian Budd starting to get a little bit of an advantage over Thomas. We're going to drop back in the pack a little bit here to see Matt Burgess and Jaron Sanchez fighting it out for position again. They got Brian Pizzicami on their tail this time. Matt falling back with his slightly older tyres than everyone else. But he's holding on strong around the outside of Pizzicami here. This is going to be the battle for the 5th position. And Matt Burgess is going to hold on to P6. Pizzicami still sitting back there in 7th. Mark Penticuff in 8th position. I actually don't talk about Mark enough. He is actually in line for getting the hard charger for the race here. And I think that would be the second one that he's going to earn this season, which is even more incredible. Let's go back and check in with our leaders. And it's definitely a 3-way dogfight here for the lead. Christian Budd, Thomas Harmon and Gerald West. Travis Massier up into P4. We don't have enough reason to talk about Travis either, so it's very awesome to see Travis up there in 4th position. But he's going to have to start thinking about holding off Jaron Sanchez, who seems to be on a little bit of a charge here as he's pulling away from Matt Burgess and Brian Pizzicami. And Jaron's just ever so slightly closing in this gap to Travis. It would not be a very big gap at all. Less than a second, I would have to imagine. The tune of about half a second, maybe. Matt Burgess just behind Jaron, actually not rolling over and just letting bygones be bygones here. Still battling it out hard with Brian Pizzicami there for this 6th position. So let's go back and have a quick look at this fight for the lead. They seem to have gotten a little bit of a gap between themselves here, so things just stringing out a little bit. Thomas and Gerald might be trying to just preserve their tyres a little bit for a late fight going towards the checkered flag. Chris Champeau has actually come back out onto the track. But that's good to see Chris just toughing it out here and trying to stay with everyone on the track. So this definitely means that Frank is not going to advance from 11th position. As we see Frank overtake Chris on track. Is definitely not for position though. Let's go back and check in with Jaron Sanchez. as Darren has actually pulled Matt Burgess, Brian Pizzicami, and I'm pretty sure that's Brian Chambliss on the back of these guys, up to the tail of Travis Massia. So this battle for fourth has just heated up. And it looks like the battle for third is just starting to heat up as well, third and second. Because Gerald West has closed the gap that Thomas was building over him. Either that or Thomas is actually losing a little bit of time here, because he's dropped back from the leader, Christian Budd, a little bit. We've got two big battles on track, and we got one going off the track. That's the 12 of Matt Burgess. Spinning out. Going very slow, coming to just about a stop. And that is going to be another caution here on the track. With 7 laps to go, 6 to go now as they come across the line. The caution is indeed out. Let's go back and have a look at what's happened. Coming off turn 2. Let's slow it down and we'll go inside the car. He's turning left very slightly. He's kind of straightened out his wheel a bit here. I don't think he realised he was off the corner. He wasn't off the corner. He's just tapped the wall. And that is going to be the 12 of Matt Burgess. Oh, big crunch into the inside. Back wheels in the air. Quite the heavy impact there. See Frank Isaacson just coming off the turn 2 as well. That would have been why the caution came out. If Frank wasn't coming up behind him like this, or Mark, whoever it is actually behind him. Actually, I think that's Mark. But if it wasn't for Mark being that little bit behind Matt here, that probably would not have ended up being a caution. But either way, that is going to set up a very, very interesting end of the race here. Because that means that we are going to be in green-white checker region for this race. As everyone gets caught up to the pace car. It'll be interesting to see if anyone wants to pull the strategy card from here, but I think you'd be a little bit silly if you don't pit. We see everyone coming down into the pit lane now, and yet indeed everyone is coming to the pits. So this is definitely going to be a very interesting setup for the end of this race. Let's just keep our eye here on the 17 of Christian Budd. So we see the damaged 12 of Matt Burgess pulling up behind him. Oh, and there's some games being played in the back there. Look like some pit exit games being played, and I think the 4 of Jaron Sanchez, he has got some massive damage to the front of his car. Let's go back and have a look at what's happened here on the pit exit. Let's actually jump into his gyro cam in the car. We can see the pit stop unfold and what happens afterwards. These crews working very hard to get the car serviced. Gerald West in front. Christian Budd getting very sideways there, and Gerald West and Thomas Harmon. Oh, that we're gonna have to definitely have another look at that. Let's go to the drone cam that we've got set up here. Oh, playing pit exit games. Guys, you can't be doing that. Take a slower look at it. Christian Budd getting very sideways. These guys actually had the opportunity of getting around him there to try and take the lead away. Oh, Gerald West slows up because he didn't want to start in second. Thomas Harmon then slows up to try and put Gerald back in front of him. Poor Jaron, nowhere to go. Runs straight clean into the back of the 38 car. See a lot of damage there on the back of the Thomas Harmon machine. And a lot of damage to the front of the Jaron Sanchez car. So that is actually going to affect Jaron quite a bit here. Because that is a lot of damage. That's going to affect his top speed because it was quite the solid hit. So he's probably got a little bit of engine damage. And the ramifications of the aero damage as well is going to be pretty big. Not going to be so bad for Thomas because all Thomas has got is a little bit of rear end damage there. His spoiler is a bit wrecked. So, ooh, quite a bit wrecked. So that could affect him top speed wise and maybe a little bit handling wise. So we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out. But there might definitely have to be some ramifications from Gerald West and Thomas Harmon trying to play some pit exit games there. And this is why we can't have nice things. Anyway, we should be on 2 to go now, getting ready to go back to green. I don't actually think there's a rule in place for pit exit policy, but we might have to look at implementing something there because that's probably going to ruin Jaron's entire race. And he's up in the 4th, so that's definitely, yeah, that's going to hurt. As we do have the official word, this is going to be a green-white checker finish now. This will be the first attempt at green-white checker. I think this is only the second time in Output Racing League history that we've had a green-white checker finish. The first, of course, being Rockingham this season. So this is how things have shaped out at the moment. We've got Christian Budd, followed by Thomas Harmon, Gerald West, Jaron Sanchez, Travis Massia, Brian Pizzicami, Mark Pentecuff, and Matt Burgess. That's your top 8 and your lead lap drivers with Brian Chambliss, Chris Champo, and Frank Isaacson in 9th, 10th, and 11th. All of them multiple laps down. So this is going to be it for the end of the regular season. Pace car goes in. And we are off and racing again here for the final 3 laps. We get the green. Next lap will be white. And then it's going to be followed by the checkered flag. Still looking at the 86 and the 38. They're battling it out for P2 here. Gerald West with the inside run. Jaron Sanchez, to his credit, still holding on to that 4th place quite nicely. Be interesting to see whether he can hold off Brian Pizzicami and Travis Massia there. It looks like Gerald West is taking the move on the inside, getting around Thomas Harmon. There'll be all left to see whether these guys have anything for Christian Budd at all, who is in the lead of the race. But the action right now is for the 4th position. Travis Massia around the outside, couldn't quite get there. Jaron Sanchez playing the blocking game there, working both lanes. It's not going to work. They're 3 wide here going through turns 3 and 4. Jaron started to slide up a little bit and he's gotten into Travis Massia. He's gotten into the wall. But we're going to have to look at the leader as Christian Budd comes across to claim his 4th win in a row. With Gerald West P2, Thomas Harmon 3rd. And Brian Pizzicami making his way into 4th there. Just going to demote Joan Sanchez down to 5th. And Travis Massia there, unluckily, falling down to 7th position. Just one behind Mark Pentecoff. So quite the interesting way to end the race there. As we can see the burnout from the 17er Christian Budd actually spinning out all the way down to the pit lane. Going to reverse back out onto the track now. So if you have access to the burnout emote over on the Aussie Sim Commentator Twitch channel, this is the time to use it. But that's 4 in a row for Christian Budd in what was an incredible race. This time not green flag the whole way. We're going to go to a quick commercial, and when we come back we're going to see if we can maybe try and scrape up some interviews here. So make sure you stay tuned. All right, race fans, we are back, and it is indeed time for us to conduct some interviews, or should I just say interview? It seems the only person that we could get to have a chat to us here post race is going to be the winner, Christian Budd in the 17. 4 in a row, absolutely incredible. I don't think we've had this dominance since season 1 and 2. How do you feel getting 4 on the trot?
Anytime you can win a race is a lot of fun, and um, trying to keep doing it in different ways here. And tonight was a little different since we had some cautions, and people had a little bit of a chance to get up there and challenge, and definitely definitely felt that way.
So yeah, very different conditions tonight. Uh, from what was a very slick track that sometimes had grip and sometimes didn't, depending on the track temp at the time, which was fluctuating a lot of the race. How does that affect you as a driver? And then considering your entire time racing with us so far had been green flag racing, what was it like for you trying to deal with having cautions with our boys?
Yeah, the track definitely was changing. Um, and you'd notice the clouds come over and it would cool down quite a bit, and it really picked up the grip of the car. And you know from my perspective, it just made it, you just drove harder when that would happen. And then the sun would come out and the track would start to heat up. And we had that one long run right in the middle where you really started to get a little bit loose on exit. And that was pretty fun. That was probably my favorite part of the race, driving right there with the worn tires and sliding off the corner. Um, so that was good. And then the cautions just add an element of unknown. The tire wear was so heavy, you just weren't going to stay out. You didn't really have that kind of strategy in it. But certainly at the end, you didn't know if somebody was going to take two and try and get up front. And the main thing that you wanted was the track position and be able to control the restart. And we saw the one time with Matt when he was stayed out, and fortunately, he was able to get a run on his outside and get back to the lead right away. But that was the concern.
Yeah, let's talk about that restart with Matt, because we were sitting here thinking that maybe Matt was going to spin his tires, but it turned out Jaron behind him was the one who ended up spinning his tires. Was it really that hard to restart, regardless of whether you had fresh or worn tires?
Fortunately, I didn't have to restart on worn tires. So anytime you restart at Atlanta on worn tires, it's going to be you're going to have to be a little bit careful with the right foot. Um, on fresh tires, I mean, on my restarts, I was able to just kind of hammer away. But you know, depending on where you're located, as you're coming through that tri-oval, if you have a little bit of wheel in it or you hit a bump the wrong way, it could start spinning on you. And once it does, you don't get it back. You kind of got to let off, and you had to be careful about that. But um, yeah, with Matt, I mean, I know on the radio he'd only taken maybe a lap or two after he'd come out of the pits on those tires, but that's enough. That's enough to get the good out of them, and you're going to pay for that. So when he stayed out, I really felt like we could just get right around him. But my main thing with him was if he was able to get that good jump and get out in front, he could hold me up and allow Thomas or Gerald or Jaron, one of these other guys, to get a run on me, and then it was going to get a lot more difficult.
Now let's talk about that final pit stop. Just before you guys had the green white checker, you had a little bit of a hiccup there coming out of your box. Uh, Maybe just putting a little bit too much throttle into it. Luckily, you were unable to get past there coming out of the pits. But still a little bit of a scary situation for you and leading the race coming to the green wise there.
Yeah, or at least embarrassing. You don't want to spin out leading pit road, especially from the lead and all that. But yeah, it really just kind of came in, and I was a little bit cockeyed in the pit, and I was trying to just get a straight exit, and saw those guys all coming hard, and just laid into it, and kind of done that all night when I'd been leaving pit, and it was okay. But this time, for whatever reason, it really got out of hand. So fortunate that I was able to hold on to the lead there.
Now, were you aware of the shenanigans that ensued behind you? Because you made that little bit of a hiccup, I'm pretty sure Gerald West, at the very least, could have quite easily gotten around you on the pit exit there. But he decided to hold up to try and start behind you instead. Um, were you aware that that happened behind you at the time?
I couldn't tell as it was occurring, but there was definitely damage on the nose of the four coming out, and then I saw the Thomas Harmon's car, the spoiler sticking way up, and it was clear something happened. I didn't really know exactly what was going on, but in hindsight, you kind of understand what they're trying to do there. It's a green white checker, so the leader's probably going to get a jump with being able to control the start, and it's hard from the outside to really stay up with them the way you'd like to. So if you can be right behind that leader and get around that second place, you got a shot, and that's what they were trying to do. They're trying to get that third place, but I don't think it worked out quite as they were planning.
So as of next week, mate, we head into the chase for the championship. Unfortunately, you're not eligible to win the championship, but still some pretty good races coming up. The next track on the list is going to be Pocono. So what's your feeling going into 60 laps of the Tricky Triangle?
With this car, I'm not really sure what to expect. I've driven the cup cars there and things like that over the years, and with shifting and things, it definitely adds a different element. I'm not really sure if we're going to have that or not. I don't know if that's a thing with these cars or not. So we'll have to see that. Um, that track is uh, it's a little difficult in the sense that it's very line sensitive, a lot like Indianapolis, in my opinion. You got to be right on it, and uh, there's not going to be, I don't think, a ton of passing opportunities. Um, things will get spread out. So qualifying is going to be important. Track position will be important, like it always is. And for me, I'm not going to be in the championship battle, and it's just be respectful to those guys who are and realize what they're racing for. Um, I still want to win. Of course, I always want to win. That's the whole reason we do this. But um, hopefully, those guys can have a good, fun battle for that championship.
All right, mate. Well, congratulations on your win. Anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out before we let you go here today?
Well, honestly, to you today for doing some of the rain delay. So appreciate that. Uh, it's a lot of work to put together these videos and do this commentary with these races, and so we really appreciate that. And then of course always Output Racing and all the guys who come out there to race and to make it so that we've got a competitive field each week. Everybody showing up each week is good. So congrats to them and Jaron.
All right. Well, thank you very much, man. Congratulations on your win, and thank you for coming into the interview a day after you got your win. And we look forward to seeing you again next week at Pocono.
Appreciate it.
Alrighty, guys. So that was the winner, Christian Budd in the 17 car, 4 in a row. Absolutely incredible. Uh, Unfortunately, I couldn't scare up any more interviews, so this is going to be the end of the broadcast. Thank you all for coming out a day after the race was actually run. And next week we start the chase for the championship. Let's just quickly go and have a look here. Your chase contenders for the championship will be Thomas Harmon, Caleb Finn, Derek Myers, Jaron Sanchez, Gerald West, Brian Chambliss, Tommy Bordeaux, Chris Champo, Ryan Pizzakemi, Travis Massia, Matt Burgess, and Frank Isaacson, managing to sneak his way into the top 12 as well. So that is going to be the way things are going for these next few races. Hopefully we can see some excellent racing on track. It should be very intriguing to see how these guys can work their way through racing with all the non-title contenders as well. So until Pocono next week, guys, I have been your commentator, the Aussie Sim commentator. On behalf of Jaron Sanchez, the league owner and operator, all the drivers and teams, and just everyone who works behind the scenes here. Thank you guys for coming out and watching the day late broadcast, and we hope to see you again soon.